The Bite
from the University of West London.
Welcome to Neurodiversity at Work, a Bite News podcast special where we explore the unique strengths and challenges of neurodifference in the workplace. I'm your host, Grayson Gilliam, and today we're diving into the world of neurodiversity, a term that encompasses a range of neurological differences. In this episode, we'll be discussing the importance of embracing neurodiversity in the UK workplace, and how it can lead to more inclusive, innovative, and productive places. We'll hear from employers and neurodiverse individuals themselves, sharing their experiences, insights, and strategies for creating a supportive and empowering workplace for everyone. In the studio with me today is Muriel Morgan, founder and executive director of Mahaba Cafe, Jessica Tatiana, supervisor of a pub, and Claire Johnson from the university's career department. Muriel, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself and the cafe?
Yes, I'm the founder of Mahaba Cafe, and we are a coffee shop in Ealing, and we offer training and work experience opportunity for young people that have special educational needs and disabilities, so to help them find employment.
Hi, I'm Jess. I'm a final year journalism student, and I have ADHD, dyslexia, dyscalculia, and I'm a supervisor at a pub in Hanwell.
Awesome. Claire?
Brilliant. Yeah, I'm Claire. I'm one of the careers consultants here at UWL. I look after the School of Media and Design, and I'm also the disability lead here with the careers team, which is great fun. I was diagnosed in 2023 with a couple of neurodiverse conditions, so dyscalculia and dyspraxia. So that's quite a new thing for me. And I've also in a previous life before becoming a careers consultant, I supported people in employment who have neurodiverse conditions.
Great. Let's get started. What are some common misconceptions about neurodiversity in the workplace?
One of the misconceptions I feel is that it's very hard to integrate a person with a neurodiversity work because they are unsociable, because, lots of misconceptions like that, or also there is that misconception it can be very expensive in terms of work adjustments to be done, in terms of training, in terms of support.
I think just picking up on that, I think a lot of people think that you've got to do an awful lot to change the workplace for people that have maybe a neurodiversity, and that's just not the case. Very often it's very simple adjustments that can be made. So that might be having a quiet place to work or some noise cancelling headphones or something like that in a workspace. So I think that's just picking up on that. I would also say that a misconception is that people with neurodiverse conditions are maybe less capable than others, which again is a complete misconception. Very often they have some incredible skills and strengths that really enhance the workplace. So I think that's a really big one and an important one to challenge.
Jess, what do you think?
Yes, Claire said, I find work-wise, some of my other staff will sometimes try and talk to me like I'm stupid or just don't know it or grasp it. And I'm like, I literally just need an extra 30 minutes to finish counting this money. Like, that's it. It feels very lonely because you're like, no one else that I will say this to on my staff will really get it either. And I have one coworker, he's ADHD, and both of us will, like, after a shift, like, decompress together and be like, what even was that? Like, it's just a lot.
Muriel, 15 months ago, you and your colleagues founded Mahaba Cafe. What was your motivation behind doing that?
So I always worked in education and very passionate about, young people, education in general. Arriving in Ealing about 10 years ago, I realized that the numbers of young people with any special educational needs and neurodiversion was so low. Like, it was really shockingly averaging 98%. So we felt like there was something to do. So we put a team together to try to change that. And obviously I've been very inspired by other cafes abroad, especially like Café Joyeux in France, and found that it was a really nice way to sort of, integrate those young people into, maybe prepare them and offer that stepping stone for employment.
And as you were saying, almost 98% of adults with learning disabilities are unemployed currently in the Ealing area. What impact do you think Mahaba Cafe has had on the people working for the business and on the wider community?
So obviously impact, first of all, would be, learning skills for them. So then, again, as a stepping stone, so learning skills like barista skills, customer service, cleaning the table, using a coffee machine. So that's really barista sort of hands-on skills. And then there is the more broader employability and life skills, such as communication, learning how to be independent, learning how to take initiatives, problem solving, working as a team. So all those have been super beneficial. But I feel mostly all the young people we had, all of them, some did shorter terms and some stayed long with us, but all of them, we could see that they grow in confidence a lot.
What do you think are the benefits of greater diversity in the workplace?
I think the world is very diverse, so it makes total sense to include everybody. It creates a much more supportive and empathetic workplace for everyone, neurodivergent, but also neurotypical. It helps in terms of, I think, there's a lot of learning to be done both sides. And I think you learn a lot from people being different as much as they would learn from us.
Yeah, perfect. Coming to you, Jess, I know you spoke a bit earlier about working in a pub, but how do you find working anywhere as a neurodivergent person?
Well, I used to work at a coffee trailer, and I missed that job because it was in a park, and it was just me on shift alone in a trailer, just making coffee, and it was so calm because I was like, I can just chill out in my space, and like I'm still serving customers and still interacting with them, but it doesn't feel as like socially draining as it is in the pub where there's loud music, everyone's screaming because they're drunk, and that was just so much better. And I do kind of wish that I could have a job like that again, where I'm just like I do well just given a task, and like essentially either once I'm shown how to do something, I can do it and grasp it very quickly, and I'm like, I'm good to go. I don't need 3 more weeks of training. Just show me how to do it. I'm good. But yeah, again, it's just that misconception of people, like once I'm like, well, because I have ADHD as well, they'll be like, well, you're not really hyperactive. I'm like, that isn't the only thing that falls into having ADHD. Like, yeah, just because I'm not jumping off the walls doesn't mean I'm not struggling to concentrate the same sentence I've been trying to read for like 5 minutes now and like grasp it. But yeah, I do think I've struggled with that at past jobs, and I've been working since I was 15. So like it was never an option. It was just like, just do what you got to do. And yeah, but I do think that kind of stresses me out a lot.
Do you think, have you found it harder to find work as a neurodivergent person, or would it have been beneficial to have something such as the Mahaba Cafe there for you?
Yes, it would have been extremely beneficial to have when I started working. And I don't know, I don't really know how to not work in an environment in which I know I'm the different one and the one that stands out. So it's always like, I've always just do what I can to, one, save energy to just mask and like pretend like everything's fine, which then just makes it really exhausting after my shift. So I'm like, I've spent all shift fake smiling and like fake having these conversations, and it takes a toll on just my energy and how I even feel the next day, because the next day I'm like, I don't even have the energy to really talk, but I'm like, I still have to get up, go to uni, or get up and like still go to work because I still have my next shift. And that really sucks. Not gonna lie.
Both in like the workplace and in university, Muriel and Claire, do you think hearing some of the challenges Jess has talked about, do you see that in people you're working with as well?
Certainly from my side of things, yes, very much so. I think that ability to treat people as unique individuals is so important. You know, what Jess has just been saying, if someone took the time to have that conversation with you, to actually be able to then say, right, what's going to work best for you in a working day, what's going to support you, what extra time do you need, that sort of thing could really make a difference. But yeah, we do see it quite a lot.
Muriel?
Yes, definitely. I mean, we are obviously working very differently, and again, we're doing the same. We're just making sure everybody's comfortable, and actually we don't want to have one of those very fast-pacing coffee shop where everything needs to be fast. I think there are some coffee shops in London that are like that. Very good. People that want that, they can go there, but we want to be different. We want just to give everybody another experience, and yeah, I do completely understand those challenges.
Claire, how can employers create a more inclusive environment to support neurodiversity in the workplace?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, as we were talking a bit earlier, is speak to those colleagues, find out what the challenges are, learn what works well, what doesn't work so well, where extra support is needed, but ultimately create that environment where people feel comfortable to openly talk about their neurodiversities, to explain what their conditions are and how they work. Because I think if everyone knows it, then that exhaustion that Jess was talking about, and I've experienced myself because I also have neurodiversities, that you don't have to put quite so much effort into explaining. So if you're struggling with a particular task and you've already told your line manager or your colleagues that you struggle with it, you shouldn't have to then come back and explain it again. It should just be, okay, we remember that, which you would do in any other kind of role. I also think there's a great thing about having some sort of staff support network, which again you mentioned earlier with one of your other colleagues in the pub. So being able to actually share those experiences in a work environment, to come together and have those conversations, and be able to have a safe space where you can go, oh, today was really tough, and I just don't know how to deal with it, or I had this situation today. So there's all those kind of things. I think it's about creating a space where people can talk and communicate openly and effectively and share experiences. And all that's going to do is increase knowledge, develop productivity, and mean that everybody feels like they can be in an inclusive workspace.
Muriel, I'm sure your cafe utilizes a lot of those, but do you have any to add?
Oh, yes, gosh. So I think I completely agree with Claire that, it's just open discussion with every employee to see what could help, and especially those with neurodiversity, what could help them. And again, going back to those little changes, to those little adjustments that actually have to be done, because it is, in the Equality Act, there should be reasonable adjustments made, and I think, and actually we haven't touched that yet, but actually it could be done straight away from the interviews that are very, behavioral, like sort of, talking about past experiences rather than really talking about what needs to be done, like skill-based interviews. So, there's lots, and we feel, that healing businesses could be much more involved inside, also having maybe work experiences for young people, much more so that they can see, that actually it is very easy to integrate. Just, again, very small little changes have to be made.
Is there anything that the local community can do to help, specifically your cafe and the things you're trying to do? Yeah,
I guess spread the word. That's always a good one. And again, as if you know anybody having owning a business, really trying to get the businesses behind this, and and be more inclusive in general.
You have your Unlocking Employment program. Have you seen a positive trend in the near 30 young people you've helped so far?
Yes, so going back to the confidence, growing confidence in every single young people that came through the program, and then so we had some that are still studying now, but for all the students that have been looking for jobs, 50% of them have found jobs. So a lot of progress, and they have all progress in every single skills we are teaching. So yeah,
it's really
amazing.
Good. Yeah. Over to Claire. How often do neurodiverse people reach out for help from the UWL Careers Department?
The simple answer is probably not as often as I would like. However, what tends to happen is that individuals come in, have a conversation with me. I'm quite open about my own neurodiversities because my brain jumps around quite a lot. So when I'm having a one-to-one meeting with a student, I'll often have to say, I'm sorry, I'm going to jump around a bit and explain that. And that kind of opens the door and allows more conversation to have. And once that's happened, then actually what tends to happen is I get a lot more people coming to me off the back of that. We can then work with that individual student, and I very often do that. So we might start off with something like checking a CV, and by the end of the session we're talking about how to disclose, and talk to your employer about your neurodiversity.
And what resources do you have available to students that are asking for that help?
Oh gosh, loads. And it is quite a list, so I'll try just to run it through really quickly. So obviously there's myself as a careers coach to help that, and I've got lived experience in various different areas. We also run a series of sessions that students can come along to that are webinars. They're actually starting in March, so that's always a good thing, just to learn a little bit more about disability. There's the study support as well within the university, and counselling. And actually the university, if people think they might have a neurodiversity, there's actually a screening process as well, so you can get diagnosed through the university, which I think is fantastic, because out in the real world you can wait years to get that diagnosis, and I had my own diagnosis done through the university and it came back within a couple of months, which is fantastic. But wider, then there's the Access to Work programme as well, which I think is fantastic. There's a little bit of a waiting list on that, but you fill in a form and then you can get all sorts of help, and that might be equipment that you can use. So for me it's like a notebook with a special pen that I can record things, and then those notes get uploaded straight onto a computer. I've got coaching that is taking place. There's quite a variety of things that Access to Work do, including, if you're looking to get into work, the ability to have travel and things like that as well. So there's quite a lot of support.
From your point of view, what are you seeing in terms of trends? Have the number of neurodiverse students increased, decreased?
It's difficult to say whether it's increased or decreased, to be honest, but I think awareness is increasing, and I think that's the key. A lot more people are aware of neurodiversities, what they are, how they are, and so a lot more are getting tested and screened and checking that out. And I think that then sees an increase in the number of people that are coming through and seeing us. So that's certainly a definite trend. And that's brilliant. I think that's really, really good, because it's 1 in 5 of us are likely to have neurodiversities. Quite, even just in this room, we know that there's 2 of us for certain, So I think it's being able to just realise that.
Coming back over to you, Jess, do you have any just like blanket advice for young neurodiverse people that are going to go into the workforce?
It might sound weird, but finding another person that may be neurodiverse also on staff. As Claire just said, 1 in 5. If your staff is like 15 people, there's at least another one of you, like someone else that you can connect with. Because I personally have never really gone well with me telling management that I'm neurodiverse, or that I just need something else, that it's separate. And the response I usually get is just like, well, that's not really how like the industry works. And it's like, it doesn't matter if the industry doesn't work like that. My brain doesn't. So like one has got to give. And I feel like just finding at least one person that can understand helps a lot, because I don't feel like I'm crazy. And sometimes on shift and sometimes I will feel like I am a little crazy, and I'm like, why can't I just be quote unquote normal? That really affects how I sometimes am the rest of the shift or whatever I'm doing at the time. So just finding a person, knowing that like after you're having to do whatever social interaction, whether it's uni or anything, do what you need to do to take care of yourself and like decompress properly. And just whether that's just laying under a weighted blanket, or just, I don't know, reading a book or playing video games, or anything that you know is just like recharging yourself, because it's different for different people. And just try and take care of yourself, even if you forget. Our phones have alarms. Use them. And yeah, that's what I can say.
So you said you've been working since you were 15. Have you seen throughout your jobs kind of that increased awareness that Claire was talking about?
Not really, but also I haven't really worked at the greatest of places. I haven't really worked in good places, so I haven't really found that awareness. And the awareness I have really found is mostly just here at uni, mostly from the lecturers that are great. I feel like that's another thing I would advise is like if you need the help, take it, especially when you have people offering it, even if it's hard, because it will just make your life harder when you're trying to do that and do everything else alone.
It's really hard because you don't want to stand out. You don't want to necessarily always be asking for help. You just want it to be able to come. So yeah, I hear that.
Muriel, did you have any advice to add for young neurodiverse people looking for work?
I would say maybe try to as much as possible look to for inclusive environment, and don't hesitate to ask, even though I do completely understand that it must be very hard. I think again it is the law. There should be reasonable adjustments, so you shouldn't feel ashamed about it and about asking. And again, once you're there, just said it, connect with those people that are supportive and that might be helping you actually to do those steps. I think the most important is to be yourself and believe in yourself. But yeah, it's easy to say.
And that is all the questions we have today. Thank you everyone for joining me.
Thank you ever so much.
Thank you so much, Grayson.
Thank you so much. It was lovely.
Neurodiversity in the workplace will continue to be an important conversation, and providing spaces to educate and introduce people to the topic, as Mahaba Cafe is doing, is an important task. Thanks for listening. This is Bite News, and we will see you next time.
The Bite.
From the University of West London.